Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf. Please rise for the playing of the national anthem.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. She's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner, is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Ripon Rabbit Hole is a community-driven radio. At times the community comments may reveal prejudices and other beliefs that we or our sponsors do not condone. Views or opinions expressed by the community, callers, or guests, are those of the individual speaking and do not represent the views or opinions of this site. Ripon Common Sense content is intended for mature audiences only. Enjoy.
Coming to you from a secret cave, hidden deep within the wilderness. This is the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and we are broadcasting live from a secret cave hidden deep within the wilderness of Tennessee. That's right. We're ripping through the electromagnetic soup. We're tearing through the atmosphere, and we're tunneling away into your radio like a quantum particle. This is the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, April the 27th, 2022. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, tonight we are diving deep down the rabbit hole of the state of Vermont and the paranormal within the boundaries of this state, and it is a state of mystery in my opinion. We will see what you guys think as we go through these amazing case files tonight. But before we do dive into the state of Vermont, we have a couple things to do. First, let's see who all we have hanging out over here in our YouTube chat room. How are we doing tonight over here, folks? Great to see everyone hanging out with us on the Darkwolf's Den Show as well as the Ripon Rabbit Hole YouTube. Like JoJo's hanging out over in the Darkwolf's Den Show. Glad to see you, JoJo's, as well as X-Jen and Sandy B checking in. Says Vermont seems to be a pretty state. So I've heard. I've not been there. I do apologize for the bit of double audio we had in the beginning. It's been a little crazy around the den lately, but I think we've got everything back in order. We finally got the flag down too, it looks like. Never can have the flag up too long, right? Dope Noise, glad to see you, as well as Verpine and Euler Greg. That's over in the Darkwolf's Den Show chat. Over in the Ripon Rabbit Hole, we got Maggie's Ace. Says, didn't you already do Tennessee yet? So we had the wrong screen up on the Ripon Rabbit Hole, folks. We are doing Vermont, rest assured of that. JoJo's checking in also on the Ripon Rabbit Hole, as well as Sandy B. Once again, Raider Champion, glad to see you, Raider, host of Tuesday Night Videos. Prairie Fire checking in, glad to have you here, Prairie Fire. A really good audience tonight. Dope Noise checking in over on the Ripon Rabbit Hole side. X-Gen says, love and light, pure bloods, fam, love and light indeed. How's everybody's week been? I hope it has been a very short and fun one for you guys. It's been quite long for me. For those that don't know, I wasn't able to attend it earlier today, but there was a IMEC event, International Mandela Effect Conference. They had Chad from Open Your Reality. I guess they had a really amazing discussion on simulation. I would definitely suggest everyone go check that out when you get the chance. And whether you are listening on YouTube or around the world on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network at the riponrabbithole.com or on demand on BitChute, Rumble, or even over on Odyssey, we're glad to have every last one of you guys along for the ride. And of course, before we do dive down this rabbit hole, we have two more fun little segments to do, the first of which we call Today in History. On on this day in 1773, British Parliament passes the Tea Act against the colonies of America. Boston does not take this lightly at all, leading to the well-known Boston Tea Party. And that was set into motion, of course, once again on this day in 1773. And that is today's segment of Today in History.
Say what?
Our quote of the day today, folks, comes from Bill Watterson, the creator of Calvin and Hobbes. He says, and I quote, "The surest sign that intelligent life exists elsewhere in the universe is that it has never tried to contact us," end quote. And I know some who would disagree with that statement, but once again, that is Bill Watterson, the creator of Calvin and Hobbes comic strip, and that is today's segment of
Say what?
And I don't know about intelligent life, but I can tell you there is a lot of cryptozoological life within the borders of the state of Vermont. And the first one on our list tonight is probably my favorite cryptid in any of the states that we have done so far. Check this out.
A terrifying creature known simply as the Awful.
And though it has such an awful name, it's actually something that you will recognize from ancient mythology, a cryptid we don't come across every day. And here to tell us more about this awful cryptid creature is Fernando from the Willem DeFalco channel. Take it away, Fernando. Tell us about this strange cryptid.
But yes, it's apparently a griffin-like cryptid.
You heard that right, folks. A griffin, something you might recognize from ancient mythology, something you don't normally hear about, especially on North American shores.
So let's go ahead and let's talk about all the fascinating information associated with this the Awful creature. But yes, so what was this the Awful? Well, the Awful was apparently a griffin-like creature that first began to be seen there in Vermont, specifically in Richford, Vermont, and then later in Berkshire, Vermont, in 1925. No exact date, like in terms of something along the lines of a month or a day, but cut it to around that time period, and then that's where people started to see this unknown flying beast. Whatever it was, it apparently decided to make a quick home right over there in those areas, and then it caused these sudden appearances there. First, let's talk about its actual appearances altogether. When you think of the name Griffin, you immediately think of a winged beast.
I know that's exactly what I think of, the big griffin creature with wings and the tail of a serpent from ancient mythology, right?
Well, that's essentially what this thing was. It was apparently very, very large. It had a 20-foot wingspan. Imagine something like that. What's that? Almost like a bus when it comes to a school bus size.
So this is no small creature at all, with a wingspan the size of a full bus.
It had a grayish color associated with it, had a very long tail that was considered serpentine. I don't know if that exactly was because maybe it had scales tied to it, or if it was just long and then it would just undulate and move back and forth like a snake would, something along those lines. But by far one of
And Mandani Mall checking into the chat. What a large creature. This thing sounds absolutely strange. Carol's Cookies checking in. Glad to see you, Carol. As well as Verpine already. Hello, Michael Fontaine. Glad to see you, my friend.
one of its most outstanding features were its claws. Its claws were talons, just immense talons, the kind of stuff that were apparently so large. And again, this being back in the 1920s, people stated, the ones that they saw, the claws, that it could easily grasp an old-style milk can.
And those things, of course, not very small at all. Easily able to grasp a human if they could grasp an old school milk can. So there you go, folks. A griffin, something we don't normally run across in our cryptid creatures. One of my favorites, I've got to say. Next up on the list, a very, very famous cryptid. I know we don't normally go over famous cryptids, but this sea monster has been called America's Loch Ness Monster. It is, of course, Champy of Lake Champlain.
We all know about Nessie, but have you heard about Champy? Champ or Champy is the name given to the monster residing in Lake Champlain. This freshwater lake is one of the deepest in North America and shares its waters with New York, Vermont, and parts of Quebec. For years, the legend of Champy has grown, and today there's been hundreds of sightings of this elusive creature. Stories can be traced back to the Native American tribes like the Abenaki, who referred to the creature as Tutuskok.
So Champy isn't a modern day creation after the Loch Ness Monster, though many people have only heard of the Loch Ness Monster and are not aware of the many other sea serpents around the world. This goes back to the Native Americans who, once again, I have said many times, I rely upon their truths more than I do modern science. So
one of the first sightings of Champ came from Captain Crumb. It was a Thursday morning in July of 1819 when he said he caught sight of a black monster. He said it measured about 187 feet long with a red band around its neck. In 1874, another witness said the size of the monster he saw was around 23 to 35 feet long and described it as an enormous snake or water serpent. By 1900, reported sightings of Champy escalated to the point where there were about 600 people who had come forward claiming to have spotted the beast.
And like we say here all the time on this show, how many grains of sand do you need to build a beach? How many independent observations have to occur before you have to admit there's something there? 600 people independently seeing something in the water, that's enough for me to take it a little more seriously, as well as the Native Americans saying, hey, there's something in the water, right? How about you guys? Would that make you wake up and take the stories of Champy just a little more seriously opposed to just one or two stories being out there? Let me know in the chat.
However, one of the most recent and perhaps most well-known sightings came in 1977. Sandra Mancy and her family were driving to the north shore of the lake when they stopped at a small bluff. The children waded in the water when Sarah spotted what she thought was a school of fish about 150 yards away. Out of nowhere, a head and neck broke out of the water, and Sarah ran for her Instamatic camera, while her fiancé hurried to get the kids out of the water.
For those that don't know, an Instamatic camera was something they had back in the day where, you actually had to take a picture on this thing called film and get it processed, and you didn't have a digital device to grab a quick picture back then. But that's actually quite important to have that kind of physical evidence, and here's why.
They said they watched the creature for around 4 to 7 minutes before it disappeared underneath the water again. FBI experts have examined the image, and they concluded that there's no evidence of tampering with the photograph, and so to date it's one of the strongest pieces of evidence that the monster exists.
Once again, having that piece of physical evidence, something we don't get nowadays with these digital pictures, really helps to prove that there's something in the water, and whatever she took a picture of was legitly there, and the camera caught a real picture of something, at least, in Lake Champlain, something that over 600 other people have also just coincidentally reported to see, as well as the Native Americans, right?
Perhaps even more compelling was video footage caught by 2 fishermen using a digital camera. This was released by ABC News in the summer of 2006, and it shows an unusual creature underwater along with what seems to be a large body disturbing the surface. Those who believe that Champy does exist suggest it could be a plesiosaur just like Nessie.
And I've said before, I do not rule out the possibility of dinosaurs existing into modern day.
The body structure, including the fins and long snake-like neck, is similar. However, cryptozoologist Roy Mackle suggests it could be a Basilosaurus. This is a primitive type of whale that has a long snake-like body and snout. What's important is that a fossil of this whale was found in Charlotte, Vermont, so it's a fact they lived in the area at some point. But whether or not it survived and is still thriving today remains to be proven.
There you go, folks. That is, once again, Champy of Lake Champlain, America's Loch Ness monster located in Vermont. Nonetheless, such a little state for such a large amount of paranormal. And it's not only got the cryptid creatures, but I would like to take a moment and do something a little different on this show before we get into the ghosts in the second half. I would like to cover something called the Bennington Triangle. This is a very, very strange swath of land that has a lot of things in common with the Bermuda Triangle.
Did a man-eating beast once roam the Glastonbury Mountain in Vermont? Many have concluded this to be a possibility due to the baffling disappearances which have occurred within a triangular area of the mountain. Now known as the Bennington Triangle, was this mountainous area once the hunting grounds of a terrifying animal? An animal similar to the suspected culprit of the terrifying events which occurred within the Dyatlov Pass in 1951, an event largely, but reluctantly, put down by many as an attack by a Yeti.
Does Vermont have its own version of the big fetuses? Perhaps a Yeti-type creature? Or could it be something else entirely going on in the Bennington Triangle? Let's check out the case file and see what you guys think.
Between 1945 and 1950, activities peaked with no less than 5 people disappearing within the Bennington area in mystifying circumstances. November 12, 1945. 74-year-old Mitty Rivers vanished while hunting. Guiding a group of 4 hunters up the mountains, Rivers got slightly ahead of the group and was never seen again.
Now, though this could be a very quick-moving Yeti creature of some type, this seems to me more like one of the classic missing 411 strange disappearance cases, as we will find a lot of these case files tend to follow the pattern of.
And combing searches were conducted, yet the only thing discovered was a single rifle cartridge in a stream. Rivers was an experienced hunter and fisherman, extremely familiar with the local terrain.
Again, I don't think just a single shotgun shell laying there really proves anything per se. Let's see what else we have.
Paula Weldon, 18, would vanish on December 1, 1946. An 18-year-old sophomore, she had set out for a hike along the Long Trail. She was being followed along the trail by a couple who were about 100 yards behind her. According to them, she turned a corner ahead and vanished forever.
Once again, I'm sure most of you will agree this sounds more like the missing 411 disappearances and the strange just vanished into nowhere with no reason at all, just a few yards, if not 100 yards, right in front of somebody, around a corner and gone.
An extensive search was conducted by the FBI, including a $5,000 reward for any information. However, no trace of her has ever been found. A strange rumor would subsequently circulate the town some years later, stating that she had fallen in love with something in the mountains and had become a recluse up there. December 1, 1949.
Now, our next case file, there is no way at all this can be attributed to any kind of cryptid creature.
Exactly 3 years later, James Tedford, a war veteran, got on the bus. Somewhere between the last stop and Bennington, Tedford somehow vanished from the moving bus. His belongings were still in the luggage rack, and an open bus timetable was on his vacant seat.
This is sounding more and more to me like some major reality shifting going on in the Bennington area and not a cryptid creature making these people disappear at all. The ones on the trail in the mountain, maybe, perhaps it could be plausibly stretched to say that a Yeti may have been involved, but a guy riding the bus disappearing right in the middle of the ride and vanishing into nowhere without getting off the bus, that's entirely another story in and of itself.
Paul Jefferson vanished within the Bennington Triangle on October 12, 1950. Although he was wearing a large bright red coat, he was never seen again. Apparently, bloodhounds tracked him to the same stretch of road where Paula Weldon had vanished some 4 years prior. These are just a small number of the unexplained disappearances that have occurred within the Bennington Triangle. Are all these strange vanishings just an unfortunate coincidence? Or is there something else more sinister at play?
Well, I don't know about more sinister, but definitely something more paranormal at play than just a Yeti. And we have time for just one more cryptid creature tonight. The strangest of all in Vermont, in my opinion, the Northfield Pigman, also known as Sam Harris. Check out this strange case file. And back to tell us about it is once again our friend Fernando from the Willem DeFalco channel.
So what is this Pigman of Northfield? Well, it's a strange, bizarre, almost otherworldly creature that is found there in an area called Northfield, Vermont. And in fact, sightings of it have been going on since the mid-1900s, about 1951 to be specific, and they've been sporadic throughout the years afterward. More on that here in a minute. First, though, let's describe the physical characteristics associated with this creature.
Are we talking like humans with pig heads, kind of like the movie Saw, if anybody's ever seen those movies, and the pig mask on the human body? Is that kind of what we're talking about, with a pig's head and a human's body, or what?
Imagine if there was a humanized pig. In other words, if you took your average pig and then mishmashed it with a human, it would be a human-sized male. It would have a walking stance, it would have arms, it would have legs,
right,
just like a male would, but it would have white hair covering its entire body.
What do you mean white hair covering its body? Like an ape or a Bigfoot or what?
I don't know if this is like hair that is very shaggy like a Bigfoot or more trimmed and so on. But the most distinct feature associated with it is whatever this thing is clearly has the face of a pig. Now, it's been two avenues when it comes to this face. Either A, it is its natural face. In other words, it's truly the face of a pig. Just like if you took a pig and placed that pig's head on a man's body, that's essentially what you're looking at. Very grotesque, though, when it comes to that, no?
See, that makes me think of some kind of experiment, right? Some type of cross mutation between a pig and a human that has perhaps escaped a lab somewhere.
Or the other thing is, it's a hollowed out face of a pig and a man happens to be wearing it. In other words, is wearing the skin or the hollowed out face, including the skull, of an actual pig.
See, I don't know what's creepier about this to me. Whether it is a crossed creature of a human and a pig, or a man literally wearing the skin of a pig. Both of them are quite disturbing, in my opinion.
That ties into more along the urban legend of Sam Harris, and you'll know why again here in a minute. But yes, think of those characteristics, just a humanized pig. Some other people describe it somewhere along the lines of a Bigfoot size as well, so larger, in other words, than your average man, and that's essentially what this Pigman of Northfield is. And again, because it's distinctly found in the hills of Northfield, Vermont, that's why it's called the Pigman of Northfield.
Now, we did mention the Bigfoot or Yeti in the Bennington Triangle case, but like I mentioned then, I don't think that was a Yeti creature. However, this could be a version of the Bigfoot in Vermont. As we know, there have been a variety of big fetuses and different versions of the big fetuses across a number of different states.
If you want to go even more specific as to where you find this creature, there's apparently a location called the Devil's Wash Bowl. And if you go to that area, there's a cave there. That's where people have gone and inspected it. They've gone inside. They've actually found animal bones, and then also, interestingly enough, pig-like cloven footprints all around that location, again denoting the fact that this could be the home base associated with this Pigman. Somebody there that's more local, if you know exactly where that location is, please post it in the comments, because you know me, I love specific locations. It'd be a great avenue for those of you that want to go investigate this kind of stuff. Again, always being careful, then that's your chance. You'll be able to try to find an actual cryptid by the name of the Pigman. They are known at the location called Devil's Wash Bowl.
So there you go for any avid cryptozoologist. However, with the mention of the cloven hooves, I don't believe that that is a Bigfoot creature, but you guys know that music means we have to go ahead and take a network break right here. So my name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show's State of Mystery series, Vermont, exclusively on Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, the Ripon Rabbit Hole. We'll be right back with the second half of Vermont and the hauntings in the great state right after these messages. Stick around. Don't touch that dial. That's right.
We gotta stoke the fires and run off the men in black. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back.
Oh yeah, Jerry Hicks on a Wednesday night. Hi everyone, it's AJ the Rippin' Rabbit. Are you enjoying tonight's State of Mystery for Vermont? I know I am. If you are and you haven't done so already, please make sure to hop on over to our website, ripinrabbithole.com. That's RIPONRABBITHOLE.com. There you can sign up for your exclusive backstage VIP pass. It's going to give you unfiltered access down the rabbit hole to where the conversation continues after the show. Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show will return again tomorrow night, Thursday, April 28th. Starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central, as all shows do. Come along with him as he howls at the State of Mystery for Virginia. I'm looking forward to that. I visited Virginia when I was a small boy, and I have a curiosity of the mysteries contained within that state. That's again tomorrow night, Thursday, April 28th. I'll return again Friday night with a undisclosed to-be-determined topic. You'll have to stay tuned. I'm waiting on the confirmation of a guest. Either way, it's going to be a fun night, April 29th, Friday. And then Saturday, April 30th, come along with me as we dive through the exploration of the Great Epiphany, a new book by author Wayne Beachy. And he'll be here to tell us all about it, along with his editor, Mrs. Heather Conroy, which I think you may know. Either way, be here or be square. Saturday, April 30th, starts at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10/9 Central. And then we'll end out the weekend right together with you. Sunday, May 1st, as the interactive game show Beat Eugene takes to the airwaves here on Ripon Common Sense the first Sunday of every month. Get your fat fingers ready to play an evening of games, puzzles, riddles, challenges, and an Elon Musk cologne question that could solve the end dispute as to who will beat Eugene. Will you, or perhaps will he beat you? You'll have to find out. One thing that's for certain, we'll have that answer before the end of the weekend as we play our monthly installment for May. Sunday, May 1st, Beat Eugene, the most interactive family game night on radio. Eugene, are you excited to ring in another month and play?
My answer is yes, it is certain.
It is certain. Oh my goodness. But that's not the end of the games. Tuesday night videos, first Tuesday of every month, May 3rd, in the Backstage VIP Lounge. I love the 70s. We'll return back to Jerry Hicks and the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show. You're listening to the Ripon Common Sense Radio Network, home of the Freedom Flame, ripinrabbithole.com.
If you were meant to be controlled, you would have come with a remote, but you didn't. And that's why you listen to the Darkwolf's Den Show. Now, here is your host, Jerry Hicks.
That's right, I am Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and welcome back to the second half of the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, April the 27th, 2022. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, if you did not catch the first half, we went over a number of cryptid creatures and strangeness within the state of Vermont, but that's only the beginning of the paranormal in this strange state. That's right, we have a lot of hauntings in the state of Vermont also, and that's what we're going to pick up right now with
Lake Bomoseen. Lake Bomoseen in Fairhaven has become renowned amongst ghost hunting enthusiasts due to an eerie and almost commonly seen phenomenon. Locals tell tale of 3 men who set off across the lake to the tavern in a rowboat. They were never heard from again, with only the empty rowboat arriving at the opposite shore. At night, many have sighted the men and their rowboat, slightly transparent, stuck rowing the lake for all eternity.
Once again, we have yet another strange disappearance within the borders of Vermont. I'm telling you guys, there is some kind of interdimensional portal or something there that is literally nabbing people.
The Brattleboro Retreat. The Brattleboro Retreat in Brattleboro was built in 1834 and was used for appalling procedures such as electroshock therapy and lobotomizations. Multiple patients jumped to their deaths from the tower, and to this day, many report seeing falling figures in the same spot.
And this is the same type of stone tape event that we've seen at both a church and a college as well. People seen jumping off and vanishing into thin air, the ghost of those who have jumped before.
Those brave enough to walk the cemetery report feeling uneasy, seeing shadowy apparitions dart across the lawn, or even full-bodied apparitions of patients trying to escape their grisly fates.
Okay, I would just like to point out, I think everybody feels uneasy walking through a graveyard, so I am going to kind of discount that part of the case file. But that said, the rest is interesting, the shadows on the ground and the strange movements around them.
Lake Memphremagog.
I'm glad she pronounced that because there's no way I could have.
Multiple reports have sprouted up from the shores of Lake Memphremagog in Newport, where many claim to have seen the terrifying apparition of Mad Anthony Wayne, a Revolutionary War general who is said to appear and terrify those around with his commanding and intimidating presence. According to legend, Mad Anthony has some company, as the lake is also said to be home to a mythical sea serpent named Memphrey, who has been sighted multiple times cutting through the waters.
Well, it's not often that we hear about a cryptid creature that we missed during the first half during our haunted part of the episode, but there you go, folks, yet another cryptid creature in the state of Vermont.
The Vergennes Opera House. The Vergennes Opera House in Vergennes was built in 1897 and holds more than just performances, according to the locals. Many reports throughout the years detail shadow figures backstage, strange electrical malfunctions, and light switches even turning on and off by themselves.
And we know in a lot of case files we find this electrical interference phenomenon, so that actually matches up pretty well.
Also reported are odd banging noises, chairs moving on their own, footsteps up the stairs, and a full-bodied apparition that appears on the balcony overlooking the street below.
So it sounds like this opera house has a wide variety of very active haunting activity going on. Not necessarily a classified caretaker ghost or anything of that nature, but definitely something around this building. A lot of traumatic, emotional energy, for sure, manifesting itself here.
Norwich University.
As you guys know, we try to cover the haunted colleges and universities of each state as we're able to, and it seems that they usually tend to carry the most haunted activity within their borders, if you will. Let's see what all the University of Vermont has to offer, and if it keeps the same characteristics as our previously haunted colleges.
Norwich University in Northfield was founded in 1819 and has reported haunted hotspots scattered all over campus. In Alumni Hall, the ghost of a student who hung himself, as well.
Excuse me, University of Norwich. I stand corrected. Sorry about that, guys. Caught my little misspeak. Hey, Errol Taylor, glad to see you.
As well as his brother, who shot himself, are said to forever dwell here. In Chaplain Hall, a spirit is said to hang around the front door, even making books float when it was still a library. Many staying in Hawkins and Ransom halls wake up feeling unable to breathe, and a ghostly woman guards the gate to Sabine Field, appearing especially on foggy nights and before games.
I wonder if living in one of these haunted universities would be like living at a Hogwarts university, right? Anybody? No? I don't know. Anyway, let's see what we have next on our list tonight, folks.
Shelburne Museum. The Shelburne Museum in Shelburne was founded in 1947 and has become renowned in paranormal circles due to two mysterious hauntings surrounding the premises. In the red colonial house, a ghostly old man can be seen hunkered down watching all who pass. Those who see him report feeling uncomfortable, as if he doesn't want them there. The second haunting is that of a little girl in a red coat. She has been seen crying and has even talked with unsuspecting visitors before vanishing into thin air.
So not a whole lot to go on with those two case files. A lot like the caretaker ghost, however, the first one says it gives off the presence of not wanting people there, so between the two of them, they both have different traits of the caretaker, but neither one could I pin down and say, yes, that's what this is.
Tunic Road. Tunic Road runs through the small community of Shaftesbury, which was chartered in 1761 and named for the Earl of Shaftesbury. This road may appear ordinary at first glance, but it's built quite the reputation, as those brave enough to travel it at night report catching orbs in photographs, hearing strange cries throughout the trees, and seeing ghostly soldiers marching through the area. Several walking the road at night have even resorted to calling the police upon seeing a dark and ominous figure following them at an ever-increasing pace.
What I find very intriguing about this is the soldiers marching down the road when it doesn't appear to be a known battlefield per se, right?
The University of Vermont. The University of Vermont in Burlington was founded in 1791, making it one of the oldest universities in the United States. It's also considered the most haunted school in Vermont and one of the most haunted universities in the country.
What I find very intriguing, and we've seen this also in a number of other haunted universities, every single house or building on the property seems to be haunted by a different ghost with a completely different personality altogether.
In the Bittersweet House, a female ghost in late 19th century garb likes to pop up unexpectedly.
So this almost sounds like a playful ghost, right? Just popping up unexpectedly.
In the Allen House, an unseen presence lurks on the top floor, causing it to get extremely cold.
This one seems to have more of a negative connotation, just lurking in the upper floor, causing a major temperature differential.
The counseling center is haunted by Captain Jacobs, a retired seaman who died in the early 20th century. He likes to move things and make noises which often startles those around.
Though I don't think the startling is intentional, perhaps he is a prankster, but I would classify this as more of the caretaker ghost, as the moving around could be trying to place things where they actually belong, right?
In the Redstone Hall dorms, an apparition has been known to appear on the back staircase and has been spotted going through walls.
Perhaps from a time when the college was constructed just a little bit differently.
Converse Hall is said to be haunted by a student who committed suicide, whose ghost likes to turn lights on and off.
And this one, of course, completely meets our recipe: high trauma, high emotion, high chance of haunting.
Lastly, in Simpson Hall, students report waking up feeling frozen, unable to move, and like someone or something is in bed with them.
Now that one actually sounds pretty scary. Waking up and not being able to move, I don't know if I'd like that too very much.
Goldbrook Covered Bridge. The Goldbrook Covered Bridge, also known as the Stowe Hollow Bridge or Emily's Bridge, was constructed in 1844 and is the only surviving 19th century covered bridge in Vermont.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I know I love those old wooden covered bridges. It's something you really don't find pretty well anywhere anymore, so I just absolutely love that old-fashioned style anyway.
This unassuming wooden bridge has rapidly become known as one of the most haunted bridges in North America. As the legend goes, Emily, a teenager in the 1920s, was scheduled to be married, but her groom never showed. Though there are many versions of what happened next, it's generally accepted that Emily met her end at the bridge.
And I know I sound like a broken record every week, but this perfectly fits our recipe for a very strong haunting at that. And that is very high trauma, very high emotion, at the time of death, very, very strong haunting.
She can be seen wandering the surrounding area at night and has even been known to attack any who cross her path. Multiple investigations of the area have been conducted.
It's one thing to have people's claims, but it's another when you conduct an investigation and come out with actual evidence of the haunting, right?
Resulting in abnormally high EMF levels, disturbing EVPs, orbs, and even full-bodied apparitions showing up in photographs. Several reports have sprouted up in which victims inside their vehicles have been attacked by ghosts, some even receiving scratches and bruises from their encounters.
Now, aside from poltergeist cases, of course, there's not a whole lot of cases where the spirit attacks the person. Again, it's not out of the realm of plausibility. There are case reports, don't get me wrong. They're just very few and far between in comparison, right? Here, however, we have one of those reports.
Also reported by visitors are strange mists floating erratically through the area, the form of a woman that can be seen just out of the light, phantom screams, electrical malfunctions, and the sounds of something unseen running up behind people.
So it would appear that this place has a very, very high amount of very strong paranormal activity, once again due to the high trauma plus high emotion experienced in the area. And we've got time, it looks like, guys, for one more case file tonight.
It's the Quiche Inn in Hartford. Built in 1793, this was the home of John and Jane Porter. Jane is said to still inhabit the home. She has been seen around the main hallway of the home and the dining area.
So apparently she loved the home so much she decided to never leave. More or less like a caretaker ghost, right?
Disembodied footsteps and whistling are heard, and a male spirit is said to move items and play with the lights.
I'm going to stick by my original statement that it is more likely than not a caretaker ghost, but I guess I was wrong. It looks like that was a little shorter than I thought it would be, and we have time for yet another case file, folks.
Number 4 is the Eddy House in Chittenden, the former home of Zephaniah Eddy, whose 3 children were supposedly psychic. They were said to play with spirits of children, and in the home there were disembodied voices, loud pounding sounds, and even tremors, but only in the house.
See, this one's a little different than your common haunting case file. In most case files, it tends to be a ghost. However, I would argue that in this particular case, when you have 3 children who all have gifted abilities, I would say it's probably them causing the activity opposed to an actual ghost. At least that's my opinion, right?
They were expelled from school due to their psychic powers, and then they were also beaten by their father and sold to a circus. They returned home after their father died and conducted nightly seances, which were supposedly found out to be legit.
In which case, there's no telling what could be on the grounds. But what do you guys think? From the incredible cryptid creatures to the strange hauntings and the many, many disappearances in Vermont. Is perhaps Vermont a state of mystery? Or are we barking up the wrong tree? In the end, folks, all you can do is look at the evidence, apply a little common sense, and you be the judge. We got to close it out. That's right, that's it for this episode of the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show for Wednesday, April the 27th, 2022. Haha. So whether you're on the edge of a reality, the edge of the galaxy, or the edge of your seat, we're glad you chose us to be right there with you. Folks, the den may be closing, but don't you worry, the weekend fun has only just begun. That's right, we will be back tomorrow, Thursday, April 28th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10, 9 Central. Of course, all shows here on the network start at the same time. And tomorrow night, we will be discussing and diving down into the deep rabbit hole that is the state of mystery of Virginia. Definitely something I'm looking forward to as we begin to close out our State of Mystery series with our last, I think we're down to our last 6 states, folks. We're almost there, and I'm very, very excited to get this finished out with all of you guys here on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole. Also, speaking of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole, Friday, April 29th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10, 9 Central, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit comes back to the airwaves with an all-new episode of the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show. That's right. He has an undisclosed topic for Friday. He's actually waiting on a guest to confirm with him, but definitely we know even if the guest is not confirmed, the show will definitely be lots of fun. That is a fact. And that is going to be Friday, April 29th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10, 9 Central. Then on Saturday, April 30th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10, 9 Central, AJ the Rippin' Rabbit comes back to the airwaves again with a guest named Wayne Beachy. He has a new epiphany. Oh, no, wait a minute. He has a new book called A New Epiphany, I believe it is. A great, great read. Him and his editor, Heather Conroy, somebody you guys might be more familiar with than you realize, will definitely be showing up on the Rippin' Rabbit Hole live show on Saturday, April 30th, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10, 9 Central. Then on Sunday, it's the most fun you can have on radio, folks, as AJ the Rippin' Rabbit brings back to the airwaves Beat Eugene and the most fun trivia and games allowed on the air. Can you beat Eugene? Are you smart enough to win the trivia and be able to beat the great Eugene? If so, then make sure you hop on in on Sunday, April 30. Is it April 31st or March 1st? That's March 1st, folks. Sunday, March 1st. May 1st. I don't even know what month I'm in, ladies and gentlemen. Sunday, May 1st, 2022, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10, 9 Central. Apparently, I need a little bit more coffee for the evening. AJ will be hosting Beat Eugene, but that doesn't end the weekend fun. As a matter of fact, this Tuesday, May 3rd, yes, sorry, had to do some math to make sure I was right on that one. May 3rd, our buddy Raider Champion takes to the Backstage Lounge for Tuesday night videos. This time, I Love the 70s is the theme. Do you love the 70s? Do you remember the 70s? If so, then you may have an upper hand in this game. Come on back on Tuesday, May 3rd to the Backstage Lounge exclusively on the RippinRabbitHole.com. That is RippinRabbitHole.com. You just need to sign up for the Backstage Pass. That's going to get you access to everything on the site, including the 24/7 Backstage Lounge. It's also going to get you access to the groups section, to the forums, to the many, many varied things that we have on there, to our Listen Live, our On Demand, all the different fun things we offer on that site, folks. And I can't wait to see you over there, as I'm going to be hopping in the 24/7 Lounge right after this show, and I will be looking forward to seeing every last one of you rabbits over there. With that said, folks, on behalf of AJ the Rippin' Rabbit, Chick Mandela Effect, Michael Musco, Walt House, everyone involved with Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, as well as Tom Baillies and Red Shit Studios for this incredible music. My name's Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and you've been listening to the Darkwolf's Den Radio Show State of Mystery series for Vermont, exclusively on the Rippin' Common Sense Radio Network, the RippinRabbitHole.com. Until next we meet, my friends, remember, stay awake, but dare to dream. Good night, everybody. How? Yeah, that's right.
Unlocked and into the dark. Some things are better left unknown. And I'll never find you here, 'cause no one's ever home. Oh, what a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. Oh, what a sinner. Is it in her? What's the truth in this riddle? Is love really just this simple? I can't seem to find my way in this world that never stays. What a widow, a peaceful spider. When the glass is clean, she's a sneaky hider. Hide the lies and the alibis. What a sinner. Is it in her? Is this real? Just illusion? I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. I'm lost in the wonderland of confusion. Is this real or just illusion? Manifestation or a dark delusion? Is this real or just illusion? I'm lost in a wonderland of confusion.
Until we meet again.